and joining us. It's lovely to have you here.
Hi, it's great to be talking with you. It would be nice to be in person, but you know, this will
Yes,
do.
well, this will do. You're more than 5 kilometres away from me. We
Yeah,
can't catch up, unfortunately, despite both being Melbourne artists.
yeah,
So,
absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, well, because we're both Melbourne artists, we can't go anywhere.
exactly
So,
right. So, how has the lockdown been for you with your art practice?
it's been pretty good actually. Yeah, I can't complain. Um, I've got my own studio. We live out, you know, in the outer east. So I've got a studio, on our block, so I can
Fantastic.
just go and work in that. And yeah, so it's been a reasonably productive sort of time for me. So I
Oh, that's
can't
good.
complain. I've been yeah,
Yeah, you've been able to get some work done. So that's,
absolutely, yeah.
yeah, that's fantastic. And a studio. So did you build a studio? Was the studio part of your house?
Well, when we got here, it was kind of a workshop attached to the carport. And so bit
Okay,
by bit, we cleared it out, and which took a hell of a lot of doing. And then painted it all white and insulated it a little bit and
that's
got some
important.
coat put on. Yeah, absolutely. Because it still gets pretty freezing there in winter time. And then we, yeah, put some new doors on it and boom. So just sorting out the garden out there so I can open the doors onto a nice little garden as well. So it's pretty
Nice.
idyllic, really.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Because I think it's important to have a good space to work in, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'm still, I'm happy to draw in my little moleskin sketch pad on a train, but yeah, when you're really getting, down to work on a canvas, particularly a larger one, you need space, you need surfaces. It's still not entirely there what I've got, but it's pretty good,
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So
What
yeah.
sizes have you worked up to with your paintings? What
The
would be the
biggest
biggest
I've
size?
done is 140 centimeters by 140 centimeters.
Yeah,
So
that's a
it's
good.
quite big, but not huge yet.
Yeah,
I'll
no,
get.
that's a.
The problem is we actually need a, a higher ceiling. So, so
Yes. That.
that's that's a tricky conversation to have, darling. I
Yeah.
think we need to have a higher ceiling in the workshop. But you
But
never
it's
know.
true. It is a thing. Like my ceilings here are 2.5 meters, I think, which is actually quite low. And I think modern
Oh,
houses.
it's better than mine.
Is it how? Oh, okay. So, all right. Well, I won't complain in that case, but it does make a difference because it just sort of also in terms of getting a sense of the size of the canvas you're working on as you're
Yeah,
working on it.
and light. You don't get that shadow
Yeah.
coming down or that darkness coming down from the ceiling quite so much. If you've got a higher ceiling, I think mine's probably, I don't know, 20 or 30 centimeters shorter than yoors.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
that's a little bit of a challenge, but
Oh, you might have to have that conversation at some
yeah,
stage.
one of these days. One of
Just
these days.
precede it with chocolate and wine, and you'll be
Yeah,
fine.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'm always, yeah. I think my wife will respond to bribery.
Oh, she's lovely. She's gorgeous. I can't imagine her ever saying no. And I can see your beautiful artwork behind you. And obviously your low ceilinged studio does not impact whatsoever on your artwork because your artwork is absolutely stunning. And so just to fill everybody in a little bit about the work that you do, just give us a quick rundown.
Well, I paint. I paint. I'm a figurative painter. I paint people. I paint animals, and I paint birds. That's the yeah. So there's I kind of run the gamut a little bit there. I paint. I paint with water mixable oils. So I'm kind
Oh,
of yeah, yeah,
interesting.
yeah. Yeah, I know that'll probably irk the purists a little bit, but
Well, oh no, I think that's really. I used some water-based oils for traveling, and so good because I didn't have to rush out to a shop and buy some solvent.
well, yeah, and it just came from a practical background with me because this is before I had the studio that I've talked about. I was working in a spare bedroom, which was
Ah,
small and enclosed, and I couldn't have terps and stuff like that floating around in there. Otherwise, you know, it would have just been dangerous.
Yeah.
It would have stunk the house out, and that's at that point that my wife might not have been quite so understanding. So, um, but so yeah, so then so some time ago I found water mixable oils, and I gave them a bash, and yeah, I've been pretty pleased with the results, I must say. Yeah, they're yeah, they're a good medium. I think at some point I might make a little jump into doing, you know, just using, you know, proper oils, if you like.
Yeah.
Or I'll probably do both. Is probably more where I'll end up. But I find them a really good user friendly sort of medium, and they're forgiving in the same way that oils are. They're not like acrylics. They are, you know, they kind of behave like oil paint to me.
Yeah, I thought they were really similar, to be honest, when I had a go, because I tend to use the other oils, but I think it's often we use what we're used to as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And have you've painted in acrylics as well?
Oh, back when I was at college, they're not. Having said that, I do my underpaintings in acrylic.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's not a medium I'm crazy about. You know.
Yes.
I use them for that, and then you know, so I've got like a burnt umber or whatever that I do an underpainting in, and then and that's an acrylic.
Yeah.
I put that to one side, that dries, and then it's, you know, onto the real stuff.
Yeah, onto the real stuff. Yeah, absolutely. So now your style.
Acrylics, I don't know. They're just a bit, you know. That actually goes back to something that one of my old teachers mentioned to me many years ago. Where he mentioned he kind of had a certain amount of disdain for acrylics, and he kind of described them as just putting layers of plastic on the.
Oh no! Okay.
And I kind of picked up that snobbery.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
I didn't go the whole way because I use water mixable oils, of course. So you know, but yeah, acrylics I'm not keen. I just find them they don't have quite the same depth. Yeah.
My problem with acrylics, and yet I know some artists who do the most beautiful work in acrylics and would never swap. But my problem is that they dry a different color. And so I found times when I've used them, I've worked in the acrylics, and then I've wanted to, and I've got so used to oils, I'm sort of used to going back, and then, you know, whilst oils as they dry will also flatten a little bit and change color a little bit. The acrylics dry so much more quickly. I found that it was much harder to color match and keep working. That was my thing. Probably.
My thing is they just dry too quick.
Yeah, it's hard to work them, isn't it?
Yeah, I like to put new paint on top of the old paint, and rather than the paint being either the color that you have on the brush or the color that's on the canvas, that it kind of comes something in between, you know. I like that. I like that. I like, you know, how one softens the other and mixes with the other and so on. Yeah, so that's.
I think it's fascinating that you're using the water-based oils. Have they been around very long? Because I don't recall noticing for that long, but it might just be that I'm very vague.
Well, this was this was a long time ago. That's a long time ago. This would have been, I reckon, about 15 years ago. My wife.
Oh, wow. Okay.
At a shop, and then like everybody else who hears about them for the first time says, "No, that doesn't sound like a thing to me." I think you've made a mistake, and I've had people tell me the same thing.
Really?
I've done rather a lot of paintings with them now, but yeah.
Award-winning paintings, not just paintings. You know, you've been in some of the, you know, major competitions in Australia, so that you can't knock it, can you?
Had a little bit of jolly with them, which has been good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that my first reaction was, "Are you sure?" Then we went to the shop, and saw them, and I kind of immediately bought a set and the mediums and so on that went with them, and thought, well, I can have a play with this.
Your birds, I want to talk, because they are
Yeah, yeah.
so beautiful, your birds. And I've seen you do a lot of birds. So they're quite realistic, but you add an edge to it, don't you? So just talk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, well, I love painting realistically, but well, and I love giving that sense of realism and depth, but you know, realism isn't you know, to me, it's not about everything being crystal clear.
Yeah.
It's about, you know, there are soft edges to things, and there's always movement going on, and how do you capture that in a, you know, in a still medium, if you like, you know? We're not making film or video or something like that, so how do you capture that sense of movement and just that sense of life, you know? So to me, that's about, and also just purely from what I find pleasing to the eye is things kind of going in and out of focus, and you know, there's a sense of, here's the detail, here's the thing that I want the viewer to look at, and then we can, you know, play around and soften some of the other stuff.
So there's a conscious decision then, this is the focus point of this painting, this is what will be in focus, the rest is more peripheral. Is that a conscious thing that you embark on when you start your painting? It's
not quite that conscious, and it kind of becomes more apparent as I go through the process.
Okay.
I mean, really, that's kind of a bit of a lens that I've been looking at through it lately, is that just in order to kind of give myself a framework within which to work, and not doing just blurring things or adding movement at random, you know. It's to try and make sure, well, okay, if I'm happy with something that's got lots of detail in it, then we'll chalk that up as the focal point.
Okay, that's really interesting.
Then we can go for softness elsewhere. But in terms of backgrounds, the more abstract, simple, and kind of soft they are, not necessarily soft, but I guess the more abstract and simple they are, the better they work for me.
And do you think that then sort of draws the eye to the realism as well?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It's rather like, I suppose it's rather like photography or anything like that. When everything is in focus, then you can run the risk of nothing being in focus, if you see what I mean. Everything becomes equally important. And so then what are you, the viewer, to actually take from that?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, a lot of it is really just down to what I find pleasing to my eye, and it's I just like to have that mix. Because I've got a bit of a design background and so on, it's, you know, some of that has fed into what I do to a certain extent, in that it's not just about the technical exercise of painting, albeit I love that as well. There's a point at which I want to release myself from that a bit, you know? Yeah.
So, because you've worked as a graphic designer and an illustrator, am I correct in saying that?
I've done a few things, but I've worked in advertising, marketing, and design, and so on since I was 20. And I still do a bit of that, but more of my life and my energy I'm focusing more and more and more of that into my art, which is great. And
fantastic.
Which is, you know, just about rescued my sanity, so that's a good thing.
So speaking of process, when you're working, do you have things in the background going, like music or audio books, or dare I say videos, because I have done that?
I could have something visual going on.
I don't do it now.
I've never tried.
No, don't. It was a bad idea.
Yeah.
So yeah. So what do you have going on in around you whilst you're working, or are you purely focused on the art?
Well, I'll usually start the day with music, um, and I still listen to radio from the UK.
Oh, do you? Yeah.
I haven't been able to cut the tie, and it's probably why the accent is still there, and it's still as strong as the day I got off the boat.
Oh, we love the accent, so that's fine. Just keep it.
So I still listen to radio from the UK. I'll give myself about 3 hours of music on the radio from the UK, which is BBC Six Music. So that's the morning, and then in the afternoon I'll go into podcasts, audiobooks, things like that. And
so that's So you do have stuff around you. It's not just, the silence. Like writers will have to have, I think sometimes they listen to music without words. But I think a lot of artists, we sort of catch up on audiobooks and things.
Absolutely.
At that time.
And that's one of the wonderful things about art is, I find, half of my brain can be on, more than half, let's hope, of my brain can be on the painting, can be on the canvas. But there's a part of my brain which is free to roam. And I can have podcasts, audiobooks, music, whatever on the go as well.
Fantastic. And then the real process when you're painting, what's your process then? Just quickly, and you don't want to give away too many secrets, but what would you do? Would you sort of like sketch it in, or do a first layer? What would you do?
I'll have to go back to the layering thing, because that's a question I've probably got for you. I always draw my reference onto the canvas. I'll draw it because I've always been a drawer. That's always been my thing. And once I'm happy with the way that looks and the composition and so on, I'll have that figured out beforehand. But then it's like I transfer that to the canvas. I might do a grid or whatever. That's a more enjoyable way of doing it, having a grid and drawing it that way. So then I'll do that. Then I do an underpainting with acrylics, and that dries in no time. And that can be quite loose, really. It's just,
blocking it in. Yeah.
Know where everything is. And then I'll mix a paint. I'll have, if I haven't already mixed the palette by that point, then I'll mix the palette.
Yep.
Hopefully every color that is going on to the canvas accounted for. And then I will, then I'll kind of get to work. And it's,
fantastic. Similar process to and is there a part of your subject, because they're all sort of figurative, including animals within that broadening out the term, is there a part of the subject that you usually start to paint first?
Usually I'll start with the background.
It's interesting. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'll work kind of from the outside in that respect.
Fantastic. It's so interesting hearing people's different processes and what they do.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? It might change in time, because I've seen people, when you see videos that people have done of their process and so on, you'll see people who go about it a different way, and you think, oh wow, I wish I'd done it like that. But it's
half the joy, isn't it, though?
Yeah. But some of the so I might change that at some point. But I think the part that one of the parts that really fascinates me is that edge between the subject and the background. And how soft it is, and that sort of thing. And do you want to make it sharp in some places because of light or whatever? And that kind of fascinates me, and I wouldn't be able to do that or I wouldn't be able to explore that if I didn't paint the background first.
Yes. Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
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 Okay. And in terms of your time becoming an artist, do you recall any time where you might have spoken to somebody or had somebody who was teaching you who gave you, something that you feel that's informed you as an artist now?
Well, I came from as we were saying, I came from a more commercial background where we were learning graphic design and illustration and all those sorts of things, and advertising and this and that and the other. So I did some life drawing. Or I did, we had a fair amount of it.
Yeah.
But as much as I would have liked on reflection, I could have happily just done that. But
So much fun. Yeah.
I could never have imagined actually finding any work at the end of it. I would never have been able to get my head around just doing an arts degree that didn't have some sort of, or an arts course that didn't have some sort of vocation attached to it. You know what I mean?
Yes, so, I very much do.
Rather long-winded way of me saying I didn't do quite as much life drawing and so on as I would have liked, but I did do, a fair bit. But the one thing that a guy said that one of our teachers said to me, his name was John, was it kind of talked to that fear of the blank piece of paper. And he said, we've only been doing this for a relatively short period of time. Probably about 2,000 to 3,000 years have we been painting and drawing onto pieces of paper and so understanding our world as a result of that. And so and he kind of then gave us permission to, to put that fear to one side and kind of just get on with it in a way. And, because, it's always easier to improve upon something that you've already put down rather than envisage perfection. And then, oh, no, I've spoiled it already. See everybody.
Yeah. So to just start, I guess, that would be...
There was an element of that, yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't get quite as much of that sort of classical tuition as I would have liked at that time. But, I certainly spent a fair bit of time doing, and I even enrolled in separate courses just to do that as well. But I didn't get to spend as much time really immersing in that.
It's really valuable, isn't it? I just find, look, I've worked with 5-year-olds and I haven't done life drawing, obviously, with them because you would get arrested, but have done figure drawing with them. So even from the age of 5, just getting people, standing, get the kids even standing and posing, and just getting kids at their level to be drawing the figure was so valuable. And I don't care what age you are, 80 or 90, life drawing or figure drawing, depending on whether you want them robed or not, is just the best thing ever, isn't it? It's fantastic.
Yeah. And just that discipline of being able to draw, I think, is essential.
Mel, can I say thank you so much for joining us? It's been absolutely wonderful to speak to you, and I know that many artists are now going to go out and buy some water-based oils and try them out. Stay safe in this.
Will do. You too.
Yeah, will do.